Europe is often described as beautiful, romantic, and ancient. But beneath its castles, cathedrals, and cobblestone streets lies something far darker. These lands have witnessed wars that lasted centuries, plagues that wiped out entire cities, betrayals sealed in and deaths so violent that history never truly moved on. Some buildings were never cleansed, some battlefields were never forgiven, and some halls never fell silent. Visitors report footsteps where no one walks. Voices echo in empty chambers. Doors open on their own, and shadows move where light should rule. Historians document the deaths. Witnesses report the disturbances, and locals refuse to stay after dark. Tonight, we explore 10 European sites where history still bleeds. Real locations where documented tragedies and unexplained phenomena collide. These aren't tourist ghost stories. These are places where the past refuses to stay buried. So the question isn't, are they haunted? The question is, would you walk these halls knowing who never left? Number 10. The Tower of London, England. The Tower of London stands as one of Europe's most iconic landmarks. But behind its stone walls lies nearly 1,000 years of imprisonment, torture, and execution. Built in 1066 by William the Conqueror, the tower quickly became a place where enemies of the crown were not just held, but erased. Among its most infamous victims were Anne Boleyn, executed on Tower Green in 1536, and Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, beheaded at just 16 years old. Historians estimate that thousands suffered inside the tower, many dying from torture, starvation, or execution without trial. Paranormal reports began centuries ago and have never stopped. Guards, known as yeoman warders, have repeatedly reported apparitions, screams, sudden drops in temperature, and figures walking through walls. One sentry famously fainted after encountering what he believed was Anne Boleyn's headless ghost. The White Tower, Bloody Tower, and Traitor's Gate are considered hotspots. Visitors have described being touched, pushed, or overwhelmed by sudden dread without explanation. Animals once kept for the royal menagerie were said to react violently at night, refusing to enter certain chambers. Despite modern lighting and tourism, the tower is still partially closed at night, and for good reason. Staff rotation is limited, overnight security is minimal, and certain areas are left deliberately undisturbed. History didn't just happen here, it stayed. Number 9. Château de Brissac, France. Rising above the Loire Valley, Château de Brissac is often called the tallest castle in France, but its beauty hides one of Europe's most persistent hauntings. In the 15th century, Charlotte de Brissac, the illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII, was brutally murdered here by her husband after he caught her with another man. She was stabbed repeatedly in her chamber, her screams echoing through the stone corridors in the dead of night. History records the crime. What followed is harder to explain. Visitors and staff report seeing a greenish female apparition, now known as La Dame Verte, the Green Lady, wandering the chapel and tower rooms. Her face is described as hollow, with dark, sunken eyes and a look of unbearable sorrow. Sightings often include the smell of damp stone, sudden cold drafts, and low moaning sounds late at night. Guests staying in certain rooms report sleep paralysis, intense fear, and the sensation of being watched. Some refuse to remain overnight. Even the noble family that still owns the chateau has publicly acknowledged the phenomenon, restricting access to certain areas after dark. This is not a ruin. It's a living castle where history never stopped walking its halls. Number 8. Poveglia Island, Italy. Just off the coast of Venice lies Poveglia, an island so feared that even locals avoid speaking its name. For centuries, it served as a quarantine zone during plague outbreaks. Ships suspected of carrying disease were sent here. The sick were removed. The dead were burned. Historical records suggest over 100,000 people died on this island, their remains reduced to ash and mixed into the soil. Even today, parts of the ground are said to be composed largely of human remains. In the 20th century, the island became home to a psychiatric hospital. According to archived accounts, the head doctor began conducting experimental treatments on patients' lobotomies among them, before reportedly descending into madness himself. He later fell, or jumped, from the hospital tower. The hospital was shut down shortly after. Fishermen report engines stalling near the island. Visitors describe hearing screams, bells ringing without cause, and shadowy figures in abandoned buildings. Italy has officially banned public access due to structural danger, but enforcement remains strict. Poveglia isn't abandoned, it's left alone. Number 7. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland, perched atop volcanic rock. Edinburgh Castle has dominated Scotland's skyline for centuries and absorbed its bloodshed. Used as a military fortress, prison, and execution site, the castle witnessed countless deaths during wars with England and internal conflicts. Beneath the castle lies a network of underground tunnels and vaults, where prisoners were held in darkness, disease, and filth. Many never left alive. Paranormal investigators and historians alike document recurring phenomena, phantom drummers, unseen footsteps, sudden drops in temperature, and apparitions of prisoners in chains. One of the most famous legends involves a lone piper sent underground to map the tunnels. His music was heard until it abruptly stopped. He was never found. Modern staff report equipment failure, shadow figures, and feelings of panic in specific rooms. The castle officially acknowledges unexplained activity, making it one of the few government-run historic sites to do so. This isn't folklore. It's a fortress built on unrest, and it remembers. Number 6. Hauska Castle, Czech Republic. Hauska Castle was never built to defend against invaders. There are no strategic trade routes, no water source, and no military advantage. Instead, medieval records suggest it was constructed to seal something in. Local legends describe a deep pit beneath the castle believed to be a gateway to hell. Prisoners were lowered into it in exchange for pardons. Those who returned reportedly came back aged, broken, and insane within minutes. The castle was built directly over the pit, with the chapel placed above it. Its walls decorated with distorted figures, half human and half beast, painted centuries before similar imagery appeared elsewhere. During World War II, Nazi forces occupied the castle, conducting unknown experiments before abandoning it. Visitors today report winged creatures, whispers, and disorientation. Animals refuse to enter certain rooms. Hauska wasn't meant to keep people out. It was meant to keep something in. Number 5. The Catacombs of Paris, France. Beneath the elegance of Paris lies a city of the dead. Stretching over 200 miles of underground tunnels, the catacombs hold the remains of more than 6 million people, relocated there in the late 18th century when overflowing cemeteries became a public health crisis. Bones were stacked deliberately, skulls arranged in walls, femurs aligned like bricks, turning death into architecture. While a small section is open to tourists, the vast majority of the catacombs are illegal to enter. Despite this, explorers known as cataphiles regularly venture deep inside, often getting lost for days. In 1990, a video camera was found underground containing footage of a man panicking, running through tunnels, then dropping the camera. He was never identified. Police records confirm frequent rescues and disappearances. Visitors describe complete sensory disorientation, hallucinations, and the feeling of being followed. Sound behaves unnaturally. Underground footsteps echo without source, whispers travel through walls, and silence becomes overwhelming. In 2004, police discovered a hidden underground cinema fully powered abandoned overnight, with no trace of who built it. Paris above is alive. Below, it never stopped being occupied. Number 4. Leap Castle, Ireland. Leap Castle is widely regarded as Ireland's most haunted structure, and its history explains why. Built in the 13th century, the castle became infamous for violent family betrayals. One ruling brother murdered another mid-mass inside the chapel, forever branding it the Bloody Chapel. During renovations in the 1900s, workers uncovered a hidden oubliette, a vertical dungeon containing hundreds of human skeletons, believed to be victims thrown inside and left to die. Some remains showed signs of restraint and prolonged suffering. The castle's most disturbing presence is known as the Elemental, described by multiple witnesses as a dark, shifting mass with an overpowering stench. Even skeptics report nausea, panic, and sudden illness in specific rooms. Animals refuse to enter parts of the castle, and electrical devices malfunction without explanation. Owners themselves have publicly acknowledged the phenomena, claiming sightings of shadow figures, unexplained fires, and intense emotional pressure within the walls. Leap Castle doesn't whisper its past. It forces you to feel it. Number 3. Bran Castle, Romania. Often linked to the Dracula legend, Bran Castle's true horror lies in real history. Though Vlad the Impaler may not have lived here permanently, the castle served as a strategic prison and military stronghold, witnessing executions, torture, and political imprisonment during medieval conflicts. Accounts describe prisoners being starved, beaten, and confined in freezing conditions. Bloodshed was common, and bodies were often disposed of without ceremony. The castle's narrow stairways, hidden passages, and stone chambers amplify sound and shadow, creating a constant sense of unease. Modern visitors report footsteps, voices calling names, and shadows crossing doorways. Staff have documented repeated disturbances after hours, doors opening, alarms triggering, and unexplained cold spots. While Romania embraces the vampire myth for tourism, locals speak quietly of something else, a building saturated with fear, suffering, and unresolved violence. The legend draws people in. The atmosphere convinces them to leave early. Number 2. Buzluza Monument, Bulgaria. High in the Balkan Mountains stands a structure that was never meant to feel abandoned. It was meant to feel eternal. The Buzluza Monument was completed in 1981 by Bulgaria's communist regime, a massive concrete fortress shaped like a UFO, built to celebrate ideology, power, and control. Thousands of workers labored for years. Millions were spent, The interior was decorated with towering mosaics depicting leaders, soldiers, and crowds frozen in devotion. But when communism collapsed in 1989, the monument was emptied almost overnight. The doors were locked, the power was cut, and the mountain took it back. Since then, Buzludza has decayed in isolation, exposed to brutal winds, freezing temperatures, and silence so complete it feels deliberate. Inside, shattered tiles crunch underfoot. Rust drips like blood from the ceiling. Faces in the mosaics stare out from broken walls, their eyes chipped away, their expressions half erased. Visitors who illegally enter report an overwhelming sense of pressure, as if the air itself is heavier inside. Footsteps echo where no one else is present. Voices seem to carry through corridors, though the building is empty. Some describe hearing chanting or low murmurs that stop the moment they turn around. Electronics fail without explanation. Flashlights flicker. Drones lose signal above the structure. Weather shifts suddenly, trapping explorers inside longer than expected. Locals avoid the monument at night, not because it's dangerous, but because it feels watched. This place wasn't built on ancient graves or medieval executions. It was built on belief. And when that belief collapsed, something stayed behind. Buzludza isn't haunted by the dead. It's haunted by ideology, by devotion turned to ruin, by a past that refuses to admit it failed. Some structures crumble quietly. This one still demands attention. Number 1. Oradour-sur-Glane, France. On June 10, 1944, the Nazi SS entered Oradour-sur-Glane and murdered 642 civilians in a single afternoon. Men were lined up and shot without trial. Women and children were forced into the village church and burned alive behind locked doors. There was no battle here, no resistance, just punishment. After the war, France faced a choice many nations would never dare to make. They chose not to rebuild, not to erase, not to move on. Instead, Oradour-sur-Glane was left untouched. Cars still sit where their owners last parked them. Eyeglasses remain cracked on bedroom floors. Sewing machines are frozen mid-stitch, as if time itself stopped breathing. No one lives there. No one is allowed to alter anything. Because this village isn't a ruin, it's evidence. Visitors describe a silence so heavy it feels physical. Some struggle to breathe. Others leave in tears without understanding why. A few claim they hear whispers carried by the wind, or feel eyes watching from empty windows. Historians say it isn't paranormal. It's psychological trauma preserved in stone. This is not a haunted attraction. This is a preserved wound. History doesn't bleed here metaphorically. It bleeds visibly. These places aren't haunted because people imagine things. They're haunted because something irreversible happened there. Walls absorbed screams. Streets remembered footsteps. And time never fully erased what was left behind. Across Europe, history doesn't just live in books. It lingers in corridors, villages, and ruins where suffering was real, documented, and final. Some places were abandoned out of fear. Others were preserved as warnings. And a few remain open, quietly daring visitors to step inside and feel what the past refuses to bury. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one truth remains unavoidable: human pain leaves echoes. And when enough is spilled in one place, the past doesn't rest easily. So the next time you walk through an ancient castle, an empty village, or a silent hallway, ask yourself, are you alone or just the latest visitor? If this story made you pause, share it with someone who's drawn to history's darker side. Subscribe for more real locations, hidden pasts, and places where time never healed the wound, because some doors were never meant to be opened, and some histories were never meant to be forgotten.